the passion to study the Arabic language since I was a kid. Reading about early Arab pioneers always made me feel super enthusiastic about this authentic culture. I got fascinated by the Arabic calligraphy. There was something always pushing me to study this language.
أول حاجة بنتعلمها في كلية إعلام إن صورة واحدة ممكن تعبر عن 1000 كلمة. أهم حاجة وإحنا بنختار الصورة لازم نتأكد إنها تستحق فعلاً إن كل الناس تشوفها. الكلية بالنسبة لنا مش مجرد مكان، ده عيلة وأصحاب وأحلى ذكريات.
Mon objectif, ce n'est pas d'apprendre une langue étrangère. Ce qui m'intéresse, c'est plutôt la communication avec les autres. Si nous parlons plusieurs langues, nous allons certainement mieux comprendre le monde qui nous entoure. Étudier une langue étrangère ne m'a pas seulement permis de comprendre les autres, mais aussi de me faire des amis et de trouver de nouvelles familles partout dans le monde.
Pengajian perubatan merupakan salah satu impian yang mampu dicapai di sini. Kami di sini bukan sahaja belajar tentang perubatan, namun kami juga belajar bagaimana cara untuk meraih keyakinan pesakit dalam menerima rawatan daripada kami. Harapan kami, semoga kami menjadi duta universiti ini sekembalinya ke Malaysia nanti. Tempat ini bukan hanya sekadar fakulti, tetapi ia merupakan rumah kedua bagi kami.
What does it mean to study here? One of the oldest universities all over the world. With a glorious past and promising present. 79 undergraduate colleges in different fields. Science, pharmacy, astronomy, radiology, agriculture, architecture, engineering, art, sports, language, and Islamic studies. 46 research centers. $40,000 scholarships for foreigners. Graduates from more than 150 countries all over the world. Welcome to Al-Azhar University. What is your dream?
I dream of education that unifies nation, creates better communication, strengthen the relationship between me and my friends, gathering rather just disbanding, spreading spirit of love and brotherhood among my kids' generation.
I do have a dream. I am a teacher. I would love having more STEM curriculum focusing on 4 disciplines: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I would love to hear that the number of teachers who are qualified and proficient in dealing with these subjects is increasing.
And what about you? What are your expectations for better education?
expect a better education that can break girls free from customs and traditions. It will help the society better understand girls' roles and their ambitions, while allowing women to occupy leadership positions that give them the chance to make a difference in communities. It will also allow men to perceive women as partners rather than followers.
And you? What do you dream of?
Well, people of my country have suffered from the armed conflict and other forms of wars. It caused a lot of havoc in the communities, with millions being displaced from their original homes. And that occurs more than any other region of the world. So my dream is having a comprehensive educational plan that is capable of promoting peace, solution at all levels of education.
Education should be on the top ranked priorities in Africa, and that's why we're here.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. من جامعة الأزهر منارة العلوم والآداب نحييكم. Dear Excellencies, Ministers, President of institutions, professors, colleagues, and students, welcome to the first international online conference of pharmaceutical and medical sciences, a response to COVID-19 BMS1, held by Faculty of Pharmacy, Girls Al-Azhar University, under the theme Support Healthcare Heroes. Dear guests, despite the current challenges caused by COVID-19, we figured out our responsibilities as healthcare professionals to gather global efforts and ensure their sharing and availability to support efforts of healthcare heroes. So today we are participants, speakers, moderators, organizers with different tongues, cultures, and professionals salute healthcare heroes. In this regard, we would like to welcome you at our conference on Association of African Universities Zoom platform. We tried in our conference to cover all areas impacted by novel coronavirus. So topics of our conference include the tracks of healthcare system revolution, track two for technology impact and application, and industrial environment and environmental impact. Al-Azhar University, as one of the oldest and leading higher education institution all over the world, realizes its responsibility to hold such important meeting in collaboration with two important strategic partners, Association of African Universities and the Egyptian Knowledge Bank, in addition to multiple advanced publication corporation in Canada. I'd like to thank all our partners with their generous contribution and the organizing committee for their priceless efforts, sacrifices, and work 24/7 to make this event possible. And now I'd like to share with you and navigate a virtual tour. Sorry. Yes. A virtual tour in our platform website, which is the first one created by EKB for online conference. Our conference website is friendly based, and we have a booster hall where you can find thumbnails of all boosters, and by one click you can demonstrate a booster of your interest very easy. Also, we have another hall for speakers in the form of videos, and all videos are uploaded to our YouTube channel, which enable interaction by like and comments of peer participants. And these like and comments have a share in the our award definition,
Estimation of
because we have
Geneva
two
curricular.
awards will be mentioned soon. As you can see, you can select any video and just listen to the presenter. Also, we are gifted in our conference by eminent speakers and moderators. BMS has the honor to have guest speaker and moderators from 12 countries around the world. All of them are pioneers in their field. Also, BMS provide two awards, one for young researchers and another excellence research by the name of Professor Tariq Salman, the honorary president of this conference. For the occasion of this conference, we launched our brand training. First, we have also a virtual visit. You can visit Egypt through our conference by sharing all the videos of the tourism Ministry of Tourism website. And we have acknowledgement from different participants in the conference that they can visit Egypt virtually in this hard time. Not only that, but we use the opportunity of the conference and launched our training package Skill Sira, which offer potent short dose of online post-conference workshops in all fields related to the conference. For example, academic writing, presentation skills, infection control, using of herbal drugs, and also the informatics programs. Also, we have 15 workshops will be held from 4th of September to 30th of September. Also, we would like to share the latest news with our participants. For example, as considering publication of full articles in peer-reviewed SCOBA-cited journals, and we are fortunate that our partner publish a page on their main site for our conference. So this was a tour in our website. PMS1, and now I'd like to welcome Professor Tariq Salman, the honorary president of the conference, to give his talk. Thank you. Dr. Sahar.
Good afternoon. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dear Excellencies, Ministers, Presidents, and Professor, all our guests, thank you for all of you, and you are very, very welcomed to attend our first international online conference of pharmaceutical and medical science. Thank you for all of you to attend this important conference for the faculty of pharmacy and all pharmaceutical sectors inside Al-Azhar University. You are most welcomed at Al-Azhar University, one of the oldest university at whole world. Al-Azhar University not only for Islamic sciences, but starting from 1960, different faculties and schools for medicine, pharmacy, engineering, agriculture, education, and commerce and social sciences are involved and included inside the Al-Azhar University. And many of our professors in different fields have global awards from different fields. To make it short and to save time for all of you, many thanks to the organizing committee of this conference and scientific committee to make this plan or dream to be virtual now. And all of us globally suffered from COVID-19 from 6 months ago. And we have the honor to have the Al-Azhar point of view about this disease. Thank you very much. And I will give the speech now to Professor Mahmoud Suddi, Vice President of Al-Azhar University for postgraduate and research. Thank you. You are welcome, Dr. Mahmoud.
Healthcare, health and providers. Al-Azhar University is proud to organize this virtual conference entitled The First Virtual International Conference on Pharmaceutical and Medical Sciences in response to COVID-19 pandemic, which will be held on the platform of Knowledge Bank as the first virtual conference in the period from 1st till 3rd September 2020 under the care of His Eminence Grand Imam Dr. Ahmed Al-Tayyib, Sheikh of Al-Azhar Al-Sharif. I would like to thank the Grand Imam for his continuous guidance. Also, many thanks for Dr. Muhammad Al-Mahrasawi, the President of Al-Azhar University, Dr. Mustafa Abdel Ghani, Vice President for Girls, and Dr. Tariq Salman, the former Vice President for Postgraduate Studies and Research at Al-Azhar University for their presence and support, and Dr. Amani Sharif, Dean of Faculty of Pharmacy for Girls, who organized this conference. The aim from this conference is to find out the latest research and applied development to face the repercussions of the pandemic by creating an international communication network to exchange experiences and knowledge to and contribute to concerted effort to come up with innovative ideas that will be benefit humanity. The conference is honored with participation of His Excellency Professor Muhammad Awad Tajuddin, Advisor to the President of Republic for Health Affairs and former Minister of Health, speaking about the Egyptian experience during the pandemic, as well as the participation of Her Excellency Professor Maher Ribat, Executive Director of MENA Health Policy Forum and former Minister of Health. And Her Excellency Ambassador Professor Sarah Agabur, African Union Commission for Science, Human Resources and Technology, Professor Etienne Ihili, General Secretary of the Association African Universities, with the participation of an elite group of scientists, public figures, and international researchers from America, Canada, Germany, the Netherlands, India, Ghana, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, the United Arab Emirates, and others, and many research, international and academic bodies, including the World Health Organization, the International Institution for Infectious Disease in Texas, the African Union, the Union of African University, Bank Egyptian Knowledge, the Medical Virology Institute at University of Germany, and the Nanotechnology Center at Zuwil University, the Electronic University of Ghana, the University of Colorado, the multiple advanced publishing house in Canada, the Academy of Scientific Research, and the environmental agency for many international and local interested parties. Once again, many thanks for being here and sharing your great experience. And I believe together we can survive and face the COVID-19 pandemic by weapons of knowledge, information, science, research, and practice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Excellency Professor Siddiq. And now with the word of Professor Etienne Ihili, Secretary General of Association of African Universities. And by the way, we would like to announce for all our guests that Al-Azhar University hosts North Africa Regional Office since 1 year right now, and President Mahrasawi is the head of the board member of this office, and also he represents North Africa universities as a governing board member in EEU. And now we will listen to Professor Ihili talk And due to his looked at Abidjan, we will listen to his talk in a video. And please, I have a logistic hint. We have interpretation icon in the down bar. Okay, if you would like to listen to the translation of the talk, you can use it to shift from Arabic to English, or from English to Arabic. Okay.
Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. I bring you one greeting from the Association of African Universities. My name is Professor Etienne Hile. I am the Secretary General of the Association of African Universities. The theme of my presentation is AAU interventions under COVID-19. Ladies and gentlemen, as the apex body for higher education institutions in Africa, AAU has noted with concern challenges posed by COVID-19 pandemic on the core function of teaching, learning, and research of African higher education institutions. AAU has taken immediate steps to help member institutions adjust and adapt to the challenges posed by the pandemic so that the core functions are not adversely affected. I will get back shortly to some of the interventions after a brief presentation of the Association of African Universities. The Association of African Universities was established in 1967 in Rabat, Morocco. It is a network of 400 plus universities spread across the 5 regions of Africa. We have also established regional offices in Khartoum, East Africa, in Cairo, North Africa, in USA, Washington, DC, and we have also a country office in Nigeria. The AAU focus areas include favorable policy environment and higher education prioritized at national, regional, and continental levels, institutional capacity of member higher education institutions strengthened to deliver their mandates, higher education in Africa harmonized and standardized, and sustainable financing mechanism of AA. The Association of African Universities is also a prestigious network which provides a continental platform for its member universities to meet, network, share knowledge, share experiences, broker partnership, and collaborate with each other in a diversity of areas related to the areas of specialization, research interest, teaching, and learning. The mission of the association is to enhance the quality and relevance of higher education in Africa and strengthen its contribution to Africa's development. Now, let's come to AAU response to COVID-19. This response includes high-level advocacy, capacity building, partnership, brokering, needs analysis through survey, and the AAU member institutions' response to COVID-19. High-level advocacy. We have issues of statements to African Ministry of Education and governments to support African higher education institutions and to use this COVID-19 pandemic as an opportunity to build more resilient educational institutions. These statements were translated in Arabic, English, French, and Portuguese. We have also had a joint statement with Regional Research and Education Network in Africa to issue calling for investment to support the development and strengthening of campus networks and research and education network infrastructure. These are Ubuntu Net Alliance, West and Central Research and Education Network, WACREN, at the Arab States Research and Education Network, ASREN, and also National Research and Education Networks. We have also issued a brief update on AAU achievement during the period to development partners. What about capacity building? Capacity building targeted through some webinars targeted vice chancellors, deans of students, webmasters, ICT directors, National Council of Higher Education, librarian, also faculty modular training, Lupane State University virtual training, and quality assurance. Partners brokering. We have also established partenariat with e-learn Africa, AAU, and Wiley Education Services to support African universities to expedite their migration to online education. We have also partnered with regional research and education networks to help extend affordable bandwidth to some higher education institutions, as well as to provide a pool of experts to assist individual institutions in areas of course, design, delivery, assessment, and technical support. We have also provided some of our member institutions with open content for staff and students. Needs analysis through assessment and survey. First of all, we have implemented 2 surveys. The first one is on how African universities are coping with COVID, and these challenges which came out fall into 8 categories. 1, limited preparedness for online courses, the digital divide that is affecting students living in connected areas, broad infrastructure challenges, handling large numbers of students online, limited commitment of staff and students to online learning, funding challenges, and infection risk. The second survey was a survey on e-skills of Lupane State University. Next. As a response, we have also the responses of AAU member universities, which responded to COVID-19. These include Africa Centers of Excellence and African universities in general. They are designing homegrown solutions to respond to the pandemic. For example, face mask and protective equipment, designing prototypes of ventilators, hand sanitizers, automated hand washing machines, high-end research to find a cure for COVID-19, high-level webinar debates on COVID-19 effects. Over 30 centers of, out of 53 centers of excellence are engaged in providing the above mentioned support. However, support need for upscaling and quality assuring what the universities are doing in terms of technical and financial assistance. Next. Our member universities also are involved in medical and scientific contributions. For example, the Center of Excellence in Genomics of Infectious Disease in Nigeria, the Center of Excellence in Reproductive Health in Nigeria, the Center of Excellence for Cell Biology of Infectious Pathogens in Ghana, and the Center of Excellence for Neglected Tropical Diseases in Nigeria. Next. All these information and syntheses are disseminated, and you should visit our website, which is shown on the page here. In conclusion, the Association of African Universities has tried its best to support its member institutions during COVID-19 era. We think also that COVID-19 should be an opportunity rather than a threat for many domains, including higher education, mainly for government to build more resilient educational institutions, an opportunity also for African universities to innovate. And clearly, COVID-19 is also transforming the African higher education sector in ways that we never imagined. For example, it is revolutionizing the online or remote learning landscape. It's invigorating universities' crisis management strategies. It is reviving multi-stakeholder partnership for African higher education institutions and impacting on students and staff mobility programs. On which note, I would like to thank you for your attention. Shukran.
Thank you, Prof. Haley, for the informative presentation, for the excellent effort and the dynamic activities of Association of African Universities. And now is the time for to listen to the talk of our President, Professor Al-Mahrasawi. His Excellency is the President of Al-Azhar University and the President of Governing Board Member of Association of African University for North Africa and a member representing North Africa in Association of African Universities. And welcome, Professor Mahrasawi. And also I'd like to use this opportunity to thank him for all the efforts which makes this event possible. Thank you.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله، والصلاة والسلام على خير رسل الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، وأهلا وسهلا ومرحبا بكم في رحاب جامعة الأزهر. بداية، كل عام أنتم بخير بمناسبة العام الهجري الجديد. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يكون عام خير وبركة ونماء علينا وعليكم وعلى الأمة. وأحب أن أبلغكم تحيات فضيلة الإمام الأكبر الأستاذ الدكتور أحمد الطيب شيخ الأزهر، وترحيبه بكم ودعاءه لكم بالتوفيق والسداد والنجاح، وأن يؤتي المؤتمر ثماره المرجوة، وأن يخرج لنا بتوصيات جيدة قابلة للتنفيذ على أرض الواقع. ونرحب بكل السادة المشاركين في المؤتمر من داخل مصر وخارجها. السادة الحضور، لا يخفى عليكم أن وباء كورونا حينما اجتاح العالم لم يفرق بين عقيدة ولون وجنس ولغة ومكان، ولذا وجب على العالم أن يتحد لمواجهة هذا الوباء الذي بسببه توقفت الحياة في كثير من المؤسسات. وقد كان لجامعة الأزهر نشاطات متعددة في مواجهة هذا الوباء. بدأت بعمل دورات تدريبية للأطباء لمواجهة هذا الفيروس لإعداد الكوادر المؤهلة لذلك، فتم تدريب ما يزيد على 1400 طبيب وحوالي 300 من طاقم التمريض. وشاركت الجامعة بالأطقم الطبية مع وزارة الصحة في مستشفياتها المختلفة. وقررت الجامعة تخصيص مستشفى جامعة الأزهر التخصصي ومستشفى الزهراء الجامعي لعلاج المصابين بهذا الفيروس بالمجان، سواء من داخل الجامعة أو من خارجها. وكذلك شاركت الجامعة بالمدن الجامعية في استقبال القادمين من الخارج لتكون منطقة عزل، فاستقبلت 3175 شخصاً. ولم يتوقف البحث العلمي، ولم يكن الوباء مانعاً من إقامة المؤتمرات والندوات وورش العمل بطريق أونلاين. فعلى سبيل المثال في كلية التربية انعقد هذا المؤتمر الشراكة المجتمعية وتطوير التعليم دراسة وتجارب. وفي كلية الطب انعقد هذا المؤتمر الآفاق الجديدة في الجهاز الهضمي والكبد. وحتى في الجامعة قمنا بعمل لقاء بعنوان دور مؤسسات التعليم العالي فيما بعد كورونا، وشارك فيه الدكتور طارق خليل ممثلا عن الجامعات الخاصة، والدكتور عصام الكردي ممثلا عن الجامعات الحكومية للوجه البحري، والدكتور أحمد عزيز ممثلا للجامعات الحكومية للوجه القبلي، والدكتور محمود صقر رئيس أكاديمية البحث العلمي ومؤسسة مصر الخير ممثلة عن والطبية لمواجهة وباء كورونا تحت شعار دعم أبطال الرعاية الطبية. هذا المؤتمر الذي تنظمه كلية الصيدلة بنات بالقاهرة بالاتفاق وبالتعاون مع اتحاد الجامعات الإفريقية، ويشرفنا منه الأستاذ الدكتور إتيان إهيلي أمين عام اتحاد الجامعات الإفريقية، وكذلك بالتعاون أيضا مع بيت المعرفة المصري. وأحب أن أرحب بالسادة الضيوف، سعادة الأستاذ الدكتور محمد عوض تاج الدين مستشار السيد رئيس الجمهورية لشؤون الصحة والوقاية ووزير الصحة والسكان الأسبق، وسعادة الأستاذ الدكتورة مها رباط المدير التنفيذي لمنتدى السياسات الصحية لمنطقة الشرق الأوسط وشمال إفريقيا ووزير الصحة والسكان الأسبق، الأستاذة الدكتورة راجية طه نائب رئيس هيئة ضمان الجودة والتعليم. وأرحب بكل السادة المشاركين في المؤتمر من داخل مصر وخارجها. كل الشكر والتقدير للقائمين على الإعداد لهذا المؤتمر، وأخص بالذكر الأستاذ الدكتور محمود صديق نائب رئيس الجامعة للدراسات العليا والبحوث، الأستاذ الدكتور طارق سلمان نائب رئيس الجامعة للدراسات العليا والبحوث السابق، الأستاذ الدكتور محمد عبد المالك نائب رئيس الجامعة للوجه القبلي. وهذا شكر خاص للأستاذة الدكتورة أماني الشريف عميدة كلية الصيدلة والمشرفة على مقر اتحاد الجامعات الإفريقية لدول شمال إفريقيا بجامعة الأزهر وكل المجموعة التي عملت معها. كذلك كل الشكر والتقدير للسادة الإعلاميين الذين حضروا لتغطية وقائع هذا المؤتمر. والآن أعلن عن الافتتاح الرسمي للمؤتمر مع خالص دعائي لكم جميعا بالتوفيق والسداد والنجاح والرشاد. دمتم موفقين، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you very much, Professor Mohammed Al-Mahrasawi. First speaker now, Professor Muhammad Al-Tajdin. Professor Al-Tajdin, advisor to the President of the Republic for Health Affairs and former Minister of Health.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. To start with, I will give a very short notes in Arabic. أنا الحقيقة في منتهى السعادة أن أنا أكون النهاردة في جامعة الأزهر العريقة والشريفة، وأشكر الدعوة الكريمة من فضيلة الأستاذ الدكتور محمد الفرساوي رئيس جامعة الأزهر ورئيس المؤتمر، وأيضا أتقدم بخالص التحية والشكر للزميلة العزيزة الدكتورة ماهر رباط وزيرة الصحة والسكان الأسبق، والسادة الزملاء الأستاذ الدكتور طارق سلمان، الأستاذ الدكتور محمود صديق، والأستاذة الدكتورة أماني الشريف، والأستاذة الدكتورة راجية طه، والأستاذ الدكتور محمد عبد المالك. وعايز أسجل للتاريخ إن هذه الجامعة وجامعة الأزهر العريقة والعظيمة قامت بدور كبير جدا، وأنا كنت أتابع مع السادة الزملاء وخاصة الأستاذ الدكتور محمود صديق كل ما قامت به الجامعة من جهود كبيرة أثناء أزمة كورونا، والتي تلاحمت فيها كل الجهود في مصر لإنجاح مكافحة هذا الفيروس الشديد الذي اجتاح العالم كله يعني بضراوة شديدة جدا. والحقيقة هذا الجزء اللي عايز أقوله إن مصر بدأت مبكرا، وكان لي الشرف إن أنا أحضر ندوة هنا في جامعة الأزهر قبل أن تكون جائحة وقبل أن يأتي الفيروس إلى مصر للتعريف والتوعية بكورونا فيروس. ومن هنا أيضا أرسل تحياتي إلى فضيلة الإمام الأكبر إمامنا وشيخنا الجليل لرعايته لهذا المؤتمر. وأشيد بالحقيقة الترتيبات القوية جدا والبرنامج العلمي القوي لهذا المؤتمر الدولي في هذه الظروف. Now I will start my presentation in English about Egyptian experiences during this pandemic. By December 2019, a lower respiratory infection, febrile illness of unknown origin in a cluster of patients in Wuhan city in China. By January 7th, 2020, a novel coronavirus with severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS-CoV-2, later disintegrated as coronavirus disease or novel coronavirus, and then by last January or beginning of February 2020, WHO defined as COVID-19, which is coronavirus disease and 19 to 2019. The outbreak started from zoonotic transmission event associated with a large seafood market. Became clear that the efficient person-to-person transmission was also occurring. The wide clinical spectrum of infection, asymptomatic infection, mild upper respiratory illness, and severe viral pneumonia with respiratory failure, and even death was recorded as a result of COVID-19 virus. As you know, coronavirus for us is not a new virus. We know the group of coronaviruses, and also in 2003, there was coronavirus with SARS disease, severe acute respiratory syndrome. 2014, the Middle Eastern syndrome, and we are, as a physicians and as a chest physicians, know that coronavirus is one of the viruses which can lead to severe respiratory syndrome. So that the novel coronavirus on nCoV is a new strain that has not been previously identified in humans, which is the main cause of the severity of the disease. The new virus and disease were unknown before the outbreak began in Wuhan, in China, in December 2019. The WHO declared from 11th of March that coronavirus disease is an epidemic. WHO definition of the pandemic is the worldwide spread of a new virus when the new virus emergency spreads around the world and most people do not have immunity. CDC definition, pandemic refers to an epidemic that has spread in several countries or continents, usually affecting a large number of population. So that the definition of pandemic is the spread not about the severity of the disease. It's spread all over the world. In Egypt, we started very early by preventive measures against COVID-19. And maybe this is one of the causes that our strategy for the management of the disease up till now is a successful strategy. The first case was recorded in the 14th of February 2020, and the first patient was non-Egyptian patient. All social media, television, radio programs were focusing on instructing population how to keep spatial distance, different roles of infection control to avoid spread of the infection. The scientific committee against COVID-19 was formed from faculty members, consultants in pulmonary medicine, critical care, infectious diseases by Ministry of Health of Population and the Ministry of Higher Education, and put on the Egyptian protocol for diagnosis and the management of COVID-19 to coordinate different researches and the clinical trials on COVID-19. The government arranged and preparing triage in the hospitals for detecting, testing suspicious cases of COVID-19, and the confirmed cases at the beginning of the disease are treated in isolation hospitals, even for some asymptomatic patients, to control the spread of the disease. By April, mild cases were treated in isolation facilities. By mid of May, the number of cases were increased, and we started a home isolation for mild cases. to give space for moderate to severe or severe or very severe cases to be admitted to the hospitals. Till the 5th of June, total confirmed cases were 31,115 cases. The total deaths at that time, at the beginning of June, were about 1,166 cases. The total cured patients were 8,158 cases, and confirmed from positive to negative cases by PCR were 9,216 persons. All general hospitals, university hospitals, even private medical sector were involved in the strategy against COVID-19 and involved in the management of the case. The Egyptian protocol was based on experiences of all other countries, choosing the most available medications which achieve the best results. I give you one example. When the Lancet Journal, which is a famous medical journal, published article about the inefficiency or maybe inefficiency of giving hydrochloroquine for the management of cases of COVID-19, we insisted to continue our medication in our program because at that time we have experiences of about 20,000 cases treated by hydrochloroquine with some successful results. Our protocol was one of the early protocols that used prophylactic anticoagulation in moderate cases and severe cases, and therapeutic anticoagulation in severe and critically ill patients. Awake prone position, which by this position we can avoid in some cases to avoid mechanical ventilation, because you know that the morbidity and the mortality if the patient is mechanically ventilated is higher. So that we use awake prone position and we use non-invasive ventilation to manage some cases, some severe cases in COVID-19. Also, we are used steroids as a therapy in severe cases, which used after in some countries. Many clinical trials. Up till now, we have 65 clinical trials are going on many drugs. For example, remdesivir, favipiravir, and other antiviral medications, which is not specific for COVID-19. We are one of the early countries use plasma therapy, immunoglobulins medication, plasma therapy from treated patients. Our management protocol for mild cases, including some antiviral, antibiotic if there is fever, hydroxychloroquine, vitamin C, and zinc. And the moderate cases, we add some antivirals, which I mentioned before, and then stepwise management for non-invasive ventilation, prone position, and with some indication of respiratory failure, we use mechanical ventilation under a specific protocol. Our report of cases by last week, we have a decline of the number of cases from, for example, 1,061 cases in the week from 20 to 26th of June, until we have 8,968 cases in the week from 27th of June to the 3rd of July. At the beginning of this month, of the last month, which is August, we have 868 cases per week in this week from 8 to 14th of August. But this week and the last week, we have increased in the number of cases, and this is our expectation because we have holidays and the summer vacations during this week. So that we have very important notes that the incubation period of coronavirus COVID-19 ranged from 12 to 14 days. In SARS, it was from 2 to 7 days. In influenza, it's more shorter period. And influenza 2, which in 2009, the incubation period was 2 days. The symptoms of the patients, we have a lot of patients, a very good number of patients, either asymptomatic or with very mild symptoms, and they were positive because there is some of the relatives, the father, the mother, the grandfather, grandmother were positive. And then we have isolation of the patients. We recorded the number of cases, and also we have a good number of mechanical ventilators distributed all over the country. Everybody in the country, including His Excellency the President of Egypt, he knows the number of mechanical ventilators, the number of isolation centers, the availability of medications, and the reverse of this medication. We used, as I told you, home isolation and follow-up of the cases. We have for the severe, moderate to severe cases, 320 general hospitals. We have 77, which is maybe it's unique in Egypt. We have 77 fever hospitals and the chest hospitals. And our chest and fever hospitals are well established 200 years ago. We have 53 laboratory for examination of the cases, either mainly by PCR. The number of inpatients for hospital and chest cases, 4,674 beds. The isolation, the number of isolation beds were 2,171, so that the total for the inpatients were 6,845 beds. And the intensive care with mechanical ventilation facility in 875. This is the number of intensive care beds. And the availability of mechanical ventilation for these hospitals was 680 beds. Now the number of the number of cases isolated in this period, only inpatients in 17% of the hospital beds. The number of the intensive care beds, the occupied beds now are 46%, and the number of cases needs mechanical ventilation now about 10% of the patients. So that the number of occupation of the occupancy of the isolation cases with some symptoms decreased from 85% in the early June and July to about 6 or 7%. We distribute bags with preventive measures, masks, for example, antiseptics, alcohol. We distribute 46,000, about 47,000 bags for the isolated case. The distributed case up till now available for distribution, for prevention, and the treatment of mild cases, about 200,000 bags. So that up till now, we have a number of cases, positive cases. Last day was about 212 cases, and we have 20 cases mortality, so that everybody in the country are working in preventive measures putting our strategy to any possible exacerbation of the disease. And thank you very much for your kind interest.
Thank you very much, Professor Muhammad Awad Tajuddin, the President Advisor for Health and Prevention Affairs, former Egyptian Minister of Health and Population in Egypt, for this very interesting and useful illustration for the Egyptian experience during COVID-19 by the pandemic. And it was fascinating to know that the percentage declined from 85% to about 7%. Thank you for your efforts and all the teams working in this pandemic. And now, if you excuse us due to some internet disconnection in Cameroon with Professor Sarah Agabur, we would like to welcome Professor Bertha Sira Awi. Professor Sira is founder and the president of for the Global Infectious Disease in Sioux Falls, USA, and she is also the head of the African American Foundation for Medical Care in North America. Now we would like to welcome Professor Bertha. Are you there, Prof?
Yes, please.
Can you raise your voice, please?
Okay, very good. Can you hear me?
Yes, I think it's okay.
Okay,
If you can little raise it, we will appreciate it.
Is this much better?
Yes, it is actually. Go ahead, Prof. You are welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. It is a great honor to join you all this afternoon. It is still morning here in the United States, and I'm really honored to be part of this conference, and a good afternoon to you all. I deem it a great honor to have been invited by Professor Amani to be part of this conference, and I'm going to be talking about medical management of COVID-19 from bench to bedside, using my lens as a clinician to discuss this. So I'd like to share my slides at this point, unless Professor already has them. I did send the video, but if you will enable me, I would share my slides.
Are already co-host, so you are enabled to do that.
Okay. All right, but it says host has disabled participant screen sharing. I can still proceed by talking through it. If you are able to enable, just for the sake of time, I know you gave me 15 minutes and it's 37 minutes past the hour. So, okay, very good. Excellent. So can you all see my slides now?
Yes, go ahead, Prof.
Okay, very good. So I'm just going to, my objective is to explain the role of evidence-based medicine in treatment of COVID-19 and also discuss briefly the SARS-CoV-2 virology, diagnosis, treatment, and vaccines. And I want to thank Professor Mohammed Awad for already highlighting some of the things I was going to be talking about in terms of the fact that most of the African continent is still using hydroxychloroquine, and prone ventilation has also been found to be useful. So the first slide I'd like to share is this evidence-based triangle, which literally explains in a way from the bench to the bedside how doctors around the world and the medical community makes decisions on standard of care. And so in December of last year and most of the first 8 months of this year, the world has witnessed an unprecedented medical condition to which there has been no guideline or formula as to how best to even proceed with this. Although it started in China, I did notice that the Chinese tried everything, and a lot of credit goes to them for the various things they tried to use on this medicine, starting from HIV drugs like Kaletra, which they threw at it, and it did not seem to work after trials were initiated. There was really no difference to what they've called traditional Chinese medicine, and to, of course, hydroxychloroquine and different medications, including steroids. Another thing that quickly came out was that a lot of these patients affected with COVID-19 would also develop blood-borne pathogen infections like Staph aureus, Aspergillus, Klebsiella, and E. coli, which were susceptible to antibiotics. So just cutting to the chase, at the bottom of this diagram is the lowest level of evidence, which is the bench, where you have animal and laboratory studies. Now, I also put two triangles next to it. The apex of each triangle is supposed to represent the least amount of weight being given. So in medical science, we make decisions on is an intervention going to work in the lab? Does it work in animals? At this point, even if it does, it is not enough reason to translate that science from the bench to the bedside. It has to go through some studies. Next is where you have no design. So I decide I've taken care of 200 patients and I gave them drug X, and it seems to have worked, but I really didn't do any design. I did not compare it with anything. If I write up about this, is it enough to convince the whole world community to accept my drug X, you know, from a purely pharmaceutical perspective? The answer is no, because at that point, the evidence is only at a level 5. And then you have case report or case studies. Again, this is not enough to convince the world. And so you come to primary studies where you have case control studies, retrospectively, subjects have the outcome of interest, they already have COVID-19, and then you go back to see what seems to have worked. That is even still at a level 3. Then you take level 2, the cohort studies, where you do prospective studies. Cohort has been exposed to a risk and you observe for outcome of interest. But then your gold standard is really your randomized control trial, which is the real experiments we all learned when we were in high school. Intervene with something and see if, without all other factors, this is going to make a difference. And when you have several of these put together, you can do a meta-analysis and then come out with clinical practice guidelines. Now, because this pandemic is so new, there's so little done on which methods are going to work, we're still trying to pick the needle from the haystack at this point. And so here is where I introduce the virus. There are over 36,000 viruses that infect humans, plants, and animals, including bacteria. And there are 71 virus families. Only 21 of them infect humans. The coronavirus comes from the family of Coronaviridae. It's an enveloped, positive sense, single-stranded RNA genome with helical symmetry. This is one that I drew myself to show you the RNA in the middle, and the parts of the pink representing the spikes. It is a beta coronavirus, and it is these pink spikes that it will use to attach to the angiotensin converting enzyme 2 receptor, which is found on the lungs, the brain, the heart, the small intestine, kidney, and also to the skin. It is unknown to man. Its homology with the SARS virus is 70%, with 96% similarity with the bad virus. So in 2005, the Journal of Virology published a paper by these scientists suggesting that chloroquine is a potent inhibitor of the SARS coronavirus. Now, this was 2005 after the SARS outbreak and not the SARS-CoV-2. One of the things they found out quickly was that pre-infection with chloroquine treatment can render Vero6 cells refractory to SARS-CoV-1 infection. And this was even more effective the higher the concentration you used. However, to obtain equivalent antiviral effects, a higher concentration of chloroquine was required if the drug was added 3 to 5 hours after absorption, which meant that there's a really short window of opportunity to intervene with chloroquine. In 2020, scientists also published in the Clinical Infectious Disease Journal that hydroxychloroquine was found to be more potent than chloroquine with a better EC50 of 0.72. And based on this, the recommended dosage was 400 milligram twice a day, followed by a maintenance dose of 200 milligram twice daily for 4 days for SARS-CoV-2. Now, the question is this: if all of China hadn't thought about chloroquine, hadn't thought about Calitra, and all these other interventions, the question is, would we even be discussing hydroxychloroquine at this point? I don't know. But I'm going to just present 3 cases, and then we'll still go back to the bench to bedside. So we're going from the bench, and now we're at the bedside now. So I present a 48-year-old gentleman who presented to the hospital with fever, cough, muscle aches 2 days before, had gone to an emergency room and had been told he had bronchitis. He denied any sore throats or shortness of breath. He stopped smoking in 2002. Otherwise, he had been healthy. In the emergency department, he was quickly noted to have a fever. His blood pressure was fine, and he really wasn't desaturating. His auscultation of the lungs revealed minimal bronchi at the base of his lungs, and he had the lymphopenia, which has been known to become one of the classic features of COVID-19 infection. His test came back positive, and at that time, hydroxychloroquine was not in very common use. And so he was not placed on hydroxychloroquine. He had high-grade fevers throughout his hospitalization. His chest CT scan showed an infiltrate on the right lung. After being in the hospital for a while, he was not deteriorating. There was not much we were doing for him, and so he was discharged home. But this case demonstrates one of the features of COVID-19 management, that sometimes you don't really have to do anything. The patients will still just be fine. This was one of the moderate cases of COVID-19 in that he had a infiltrate on his x-ray. He had high-grade fevers, but apart from his lymphopenia, he really was not deteriorating and he seemed to be hanging in there fine. It also illustrated imported case. And I'd just like to mention at this point that at least in Africa, a lot of the cases have been asymptomatic. And even in general around the world, only about 5% of patients who progress to the point of illness that requires hospitalization. Up to 47% of patients tested on several ships and enclosed spaces have been found to be completely asymptomatic. And if it wasn't for the test, they would not even know that they have symptoms. It seems to suggest in a way that then not every COVID-19 patient requires an intervention. The second patient I present is another patient who was given hydroxychloroquine right from the onset, and let's see how she came along. So she presented after being home for over a week with symptoms. However, she came because she was now vomiting, had nausea, and she was so short of breath, she could not breathe. Her lab work showed mostly an abnormal C-reactive protein. Chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine was started right at the beginning, and you can see her fever curve was going down. However, on day 8, something unusual happened. If you can tell from these chest x-rays, she started complaining of chest tightness. If you compare these 2 x-rays, she had more of an infiltrate in the upper zones on the right and worse on the lower zones, and even an infiltrate on the left side. So clearly, in spite of being on hydroxychloroquine, in spite of being on antibiotics, she was still getting worse. And so on the 5th night, which should have been her last dose of hydroxychloroquine, she pretty much refused to take the medicine. And these were her EKGs. This were her initial EKG on the first day of presentation. On day 8, her QT interval had increased to 773. And I just plotted this to let you see how her QT interval changed over time. This was day 2 of the first day of using hydroxychloroquine. It went up a little. By day 8, it was increasing. That was the night she refused it. By day 9, her QT interval had prolonged to 773 and it came back down. But it tells us that a lot of these medications we use are not without side effects. As you all know, as lecturers in pharmacy schools, that QT is an important measurement because it can lead to torsade de pointe, which is an abnormal rhythm which can lead to life-threatening ventricular fibrillation, which can lead to death. And so using hydroxychloroquine is not without any side effects. The thought has been that anybody who has a QT interval of more than 500 milliseconds should not even be put on hydroxychloroquine. In much of Africa, it does not appear that we have the luxury to be able to do this, but in the US, it's quite common for any patient who was going to be started on hydroxychloroquine. And there are some risk factors which have been noted in QT prolongation, including female gender, low heart rate, hypokalemia, and hypomagnesemia. So in a way, based on her female gender, she had a slight risk of QT prolongation. The point that this illustrates is that this patient had also gastrointestinal symptoms, that COVID-19 is a multi-system disease. At this point, we know that it can cause strokes, skin abnormalities, abdominal pain, kidney failure, and multiple other problems, including liver enzyme elevation. In this patient, the hydroxychloroquine did not seem to have any effect on her progression of pneumonia. And the last patient I present unfortunately died, but her case also shows a very dense bilateral lung infiltrate. She was placed on hydroxychloroquine from day one. And you can see a very high fibrinogen level and elevated D-dimer, which also represents the coagulopathy associated with this illness. All her respiratory panel was negative. It was only her COVID-19 test which came back positive. So where are we with the evidence so far as going from bench to bedside? At least we know that animal studies showed without any shadow of doubt that hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine should be able to inhibit SARS in vitro at the bench. But what happens when you take it to the bedside? There are some case reports it works. Some of the patients—
Excuse me, Prof. We are out of time.
Okay. All right. So I will end at this point. So far as treatment is concerned, the verdict is still out there. At this point, the only thing that has been shown to work, or at least reduce the death rate, is dexamethasone. A lot of vaccines are in trial at this point, and this leaves room for more research. That whenever you have a new disease, we're going to have to quickly dig into our bench, which is our laboratory studies, to see something that could potentially transfer to bedside. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Bertha. And excuse me, if anyone would like to give a question, you can write it in the chat box. And thank you for the very interesting presentation. And most of the attendee asked to have this presentation, so you can manage that with our organizing committee if you can share it with them. And now, Professor Sarah Agabur, Her Excellency, the Commissioner of African Union for Human Resource and Science and Technology, will join us, and we would like to thank you, Prof. Berta. And now we will move for Professor Sarah Agabur as we finally get the connection with her. Your Excellency, Professor Sarah, are you there? Professor Sarah Agabur from Cameroon. Yes. Prof. Berta, can you please turn off your video camera? Thank you. Can you unmute your mic, Professor Sarah? Thank you, Your Excellency. I know how tight your schedule, and thank you for your interest to join our conference. And by the way, the conference is broadcasted right now on the EEU TV, the Association of African Universities Television.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you unmute me? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, I'm so sorry, I was in another virtual meeting. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Prof, we can hear
Hello,
you.
can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, esteemed participants, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I greet you good afternoon here from Yaoundé. on this first pharmaceutical and medical sciences in mitigating COVID-19. On 30th January 2020, the World Health Organization declared the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic as an outbreak that constitutes a public health emergency of international concern and immediately called for the activation of various responses and rolling out unprecedented strategies to curb the spread and contain this pandemic. The global statistics of cases and fatalities began rising rapidly, and the disease was spreading fast and with dire consequences on the health systems and the socio-economic outlook of many countries. While African countries showed relatively lower numbers of confirmed cases at the beginning, there was, however, a significant rise of deaths due to the COVID-19 and serious social, economic disruptions and consequences. Our level preparedness, response capacity, and the state of our health systems were put to test. Thanks to the African CDC, in collaboration with regional and national CDCs that mobilize a formidable support domestically and internationally to empower our countries to face this global pandemic. As the lockdown took toll all over the world, our institutions, medical universities, faculties, researchers, and pharmacy professionals face this formidable challenge as they performed frontline duties, providing services and looking for solutions. Pharmaceutical and medical sciences in mitigating COVID-19 has been on the center stage. There was an emergent expectation from the society for rapid and strong responses from science, technology, and innovation to address this deadly pandemic by providing surveillance and cure, as well as understanding the underlying local epidemiology and natural history of this virus through medical sciences research. Research and innovation is critical in our fight against COVID-19, and there is an urgent need to empower the African scientific and research community to lead efforts to set locally relevant scientific agendas to provide solutions for A, diagnosis, B, therapies, C, vaccines. I recently hosted a webinar for women in science as a way to mobilize our researchers to join the entire world in the co-creation of knowledge and generation of cure for COVID-19. Scientific research in communicable diseases and vaccines should be vigorously promoted if we are to
محمود هو اللي
develop
هيقدم
new
دكتور
medical products
قولي
and
له
tools
زودي روح.
for prevention and treatment. We should reinforce the linkage between health, research, and intervention actions, better coordinate the response. We should formulate policies to set up appropriate R&D infrastructures and facilities, such as mobile laboratories and clinical trials, to effectively deal with outbreaks and pay special attention to rural communities. Yes, we need a collective and effective research and innovation response based on a functional system of science, technology, and innovation on the continent that is built on strong transnational collaborative platforms that utilize our diversity, range of existing capacities and expertise, while leveraging strong international partnerships, including with the World Health Organization. We need to go further and unlock the potential of local medicinal plants and traditional knowledge in order to provide a mix of responses to deal with pandemics, and in particular, combating the current COVID-19. About 75 and 80% of Africans use plants and traditional medicine for their medical needs. It is in this wise that this first meeting on pharmaceutical and medical sciences medicinal science is very important, because we need to know the right medication. I was opportune to listen to the last speaker, where we are speaking about hydroxychloroquine, COVID-19, and to mitigate COVID-19. So it is for this reason that I support and I congratulate you for organizing this particular webinar. Intra-Africa collaboration is essential and key. If Africa is to win this race against COVID-19, currently a lot of work is going on in different member states and different research institutions continent-wide. But with minimal collaboration among our research communities, laboratories, and regional economic communities, we should bring on board the private sector and create PPPs and boost innovation, in particular for the production of personal protective equipment and medical supplies and preventive systems. Following the adoption of the African Union Agenda 2063, with the vision of an integrated, prosperous, and peaceful Africa, driven by its own competent and skilled citizens, able to play in the global arena, the Commission ensured that the framework is underpinned by science, technology, and innovation to foster building a sustainable, integrated R&D and innovation ecosystem that is crucial for unlocking potential solutions that address their continent's development and emerging challenges through the implementation of the Science, Technology, Innovation Strategy for Africa 2020. CSR 2024 aims at promoting the deployment of science, technology, and innovation in the areas of agriculture, health. It explores and identifies opportunities to enable member states to leapfrog the technology gap using the huge and unparalleled technological advances through mutual partnerships and collaboration in emerging technologies, space science, as well as Africa's biodiversity and indigenous technologies. The Science, Technology, Innovation Strategy for Africa 2024 calls upon member states and regional economic communities to research and innovation, infrastructure and facilities, build technical competencies, promote innovation and entrepreneurship, and create an enabling environment. It is very important for us, and for this reason, I want to say that I celebrate with you, and I also congratulate the distinguished participants who are participating with us in this first International Pharmaceutical and Medical Sciences Conference on how we can respond
Prof. Sarah, are you still there? I think we lost Professor Commissioner Sarah Agabur. So Prof. Mahmoud Siddiq.
Thank you very much, Professor Sarah Agabur, for nice presentation. And now we call Professor Mahar Rabat, former Minister of Health, Special Envoy to WHO General Director for COVID-19. Professor Mahar.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Siddiq, for the introduction. And Your Excellency, Professor Dr. Awad, Dr. Mohammed Mahrasawi, colleagues, Dr. Tariq, Dr. Mahmoud Siddiq, Dr. Amani, Dr. Mohammed Abdel Malik, and Dr. Rabia. It gives me great pleasure to be participating in this very important itself, supporting healthcare heroes, is really inspiring, and it makes us all rise with respect and honor to our frontliners who are really working under very difficult circumstances just to give us the security and the safety in this response and the containment of this pandemic. So briefly speaking, and I don't want to be repeating many of the issues that my colleagues have previously mentioned. So in January, the COVID disease caused by the SARS-CoV-2 virus was declared a public health emergency, with fewer than 100 cases at the time outside of China. On March 11th, 2020, the COVID-19 was declared a pandemic. Now, after 8 months and on the 1st of September, or rather on the 31st of August, we have close to 25.5 million reported cases and around 850,000 deaths globally. Needless to say that globally, the pandemic has unveiled and unpacked challenges in the emergency preparedness and response. Not only this, but as well to people, communities, rapidly changing needs and demands, and to the marked socio-economic disruptions that affected the whole world. So, this pandemic has underscored the understanding of the complexities and interrelationships among distinct determinants of the response faced by countries in their adaptive abilities and their adaptive response. And now is the time to step back after 8 months of the pandemic and rethink what needs to be done to get the narrative right, and to decide on the steps that are needed to be put in place to stay ahead of the pandemic, ahead of the virus, assessing the capacities and building the resilience while transitioning from the crisis management to the recovery management. Saying this, systems, including the health systems, need to be restructured to accommodate the urgent, medium, and the longer term concerns. 3 months from now, 6 months from now, maybe even longer, 1 month, 1 year and beyond. We need to have a new vision with clear government strategies. We have learned a lot, and much is still to be learned in the coming days, months, and years. However, we have learned several things from the experiences on the global, regional, and national levels that we have to build upon. So what have we learned? We have learned that the virus isn't going away in the foreseeable future until either we have herd immunity, which is achieved either by infection or vaccination, and both to occur, this needs much longer time. We have learned that health systems cannot on their own overcome or solve the existing or evolving health challenges, and that we need stronger health systems that are resilient to shocks and the essential services, and that the essential services are much disrupted. We need strong health security, public health, and universal health response plans. We need to be embracing the whole of the government and whole of the society. And this cannot be achieved unless people's health and well-being
أنا موجود بكرة من 5 ل 9.
developmental framework people of all ages, they remain susceptible. Countries, and this has been the done. We know that many countries have succeeded in suppressing the transmission of the virus by undertaking the right precautions and the right interventions to contain this virus. We have learned as well that the essential pillars of the containment are known, and they have proven their success: testing, isolating, treating, contact tracing, and quarantining. We have known that death can be reduced by protecting the vulnerable groups. And the vulnerable groups are already much known to us: elderly people, those with non-communicable diseases, the healthcare workers, essential workers, the poor people and poor communities, and those where inequalities exist. We know that the communities have the role to play in distancing, in hand washing, in cleaning hands, practicing respiratory etiquette, wearing masks, and avoiding closed spaces, avoiding crowded places and closed contact settings. And as well, we have known, as have always been mentioned by the DG and other professionals, that the national unity and the global solidarity is a benchmark for the response. We have to do it all, and at the same time, we have to avoid the single action approaches. So what does it take to have this sustainable, integrated response? Governance structures have to be organized around a number of actors from the state and the society through a synergistic set of adaptable policies, resilient structures in the sectors, and with processes that support the foresight and the collaboration that we need people's engagement and emphasizing the role of the society as well. We know and we learn that the stronger investment of public health and in health workforce are essential pillars for any response, while harmonizing sectors with different strategic approaches towards enforcement of the national emergency, public health, economic, and the social response. It has been mentioned and reported that more than 172 countries are now engaging with the COVAX facility, which has the largest and most diverse COVID-19 vaccine portfolio in the world. This will enable the mechanisms for a globally coordinated rollout, ensuring that all countries receive the vaccine in an equitable and a timely fashion. And also the response revolves around decisive and adaptive leadership, and that the coordinated response will lead to a comprehensive impact. Actions are undertaken to generate evidence, develop treatments and vaccines, but still, as have been mentioned by my colleagues, much is still needed to be known and to be learned. Success could be reached, and we know this from the experience from many of the countries, and we need to succeed. There is no room for failure. And so transparency, communication, leadership, and the public health are key pillars. So what should be done in the foreseeable future? Governments are now transitioning from the crisis management to the recovery management, with an opportunity to restructure the health systems and their functions to be fit for an envisioned purpose. We need to know our purpose. We need to utilize innovative ways of analysis, thinking, data generation, managing, communicating, and governing to strengthen the health systems, reshape the plans, strengthen the public health functions, support institutional capacities, and partner with all stakeholders, having health security as a cornerstone of all response. And we need finally to acknowledge the fact that there is no going back to business as usual, and that health on its own is a developmental priority. So governments must take the rapid steps, rapid actions to assess the effectiveness of the response, to assess the effectiveness of actions that are needed in the future to promote the policies, the regulations of protecting health and the well-being. What is really important is that all governments should have the commitment to change for innovative, resilient, fit for purpose, adaptive arrangements that at the same time promotes the integrated and adaptive collaborative actions of health and non-health sectors, communities as a partner in all of the response for a new shared vision to develop new set of governance arrangements that support coherence, adaptability, and flexibility on the global, regional, and on the national level. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency Professor Maher Rabat, for the very interesting presentation and talk. And actually, among your talk, there is very important message. We should have sustainable integrated response to success, and failure is not a choice. We have to restructure our health system and support institutional and individual capacity. But what makes us a little bit desperate that there is no going back to business as the old normal. So this is a message from Professor Rabbar. Thank you very much. And by the way, I would like to thank Professor Bertha for the active communication with our attendee on the chat platform. And now we would like to have more elaboration on the experience of Al-Azhar University in managing COVID-19 pandemic. And now, Professor Mahmoud Siddiq, the Vice President for Postgraduate Studies and Research, and also the Supervisor of the hospitals, academic hospitals of Al-Azhar University. And we have 6 academic hospitals distributed all over the country. He will elaborate for us now the experience of Al-Azhar University. Welcome, Professor Siddiq.
Thank you very much, Professor Amani. Thank you, Professor Maha, for nice presentation. First International Pharmaceutical Medical Science Conference, Al-Azhar Hospitals and the Management of COVID-19 Crisis. COVID-19 pandemic has impacted hospitals around the world. Patients served by the hospital are affected. Many health facilities closed or limited services. Physical and psychological consequences among healthcare providers: lack personal protective equipment. WHO stated that 1 person among health workers is infected. Al-Azhar University, associated with Al-Azhar Mosque in Islamic Cairo, it is Egypt's oldest degree-granting university. In addition to higher education, Al-Azhar oversees a national network of schools with approximately 2 million students, 86 faculties, 19,000 faculty members. Al-Azhar Medical School graduation 2020. Al-Azhar planned during crisis, creating a crisis management committee, apply strict quarantine measures, disinfection of all buildings, following the precautions and the preventive measures taken by the hospital, solving all the problems once they appear, training of healthcare workers, medical staff, house officers, and residents, training of healthcare workers for 3 weeks, 1,400 doctors, house officers, residents, associate lecturer, and professor, and 300 nurses, providing increased access to personal protective equipment, providing psychological support, routinely conducting hospital surveillance, recognizing health system gap. Implement updated protocols, screen everyone entering the facility, and to identify and track suspected cases and contacts, applying appropriate quarantine measures and physical distance. Practice hand hygiene and frequent disinfection of departments. Al-Azhar University hospitals include 6 hospitals between Upper and Lower Egypt and Cairo. Al-Azhar University, Al-Hussein University Hospital and Sayyid Jalal Zahra in Cairo, Dumyat in Lower Egypt and Asyut in Upper Egypt, and one specialized hospital, Al-Azhar University Hospital. On 20 April 2020, the university president decided to convert the hospital to an isolation hospital to serve affected patients who belong to Al-Azhar University. Hospital division, 4 floor, 350 isolated single rooms, 50 ICU rooms, radiology department, lab section, and pharmacy. And 4 guarantee separate hotel include 96 single rooms, university city buildings, 80 rooms, and kitchen. Time frame. First cases was admitted on 22 April 2020 and last case was discharged on 13 August 2020. For statistical analysis, total patients 330 patients, which include 176 male cases, 154 female patients, and 17 patients was admitted to ICU rooms. 308 cases completely cured from the disease, 93%, and 20 cases was died from the disease. Between age of 0 and 40, no cases was died from the disease. Between 40 and 60 years, only 6 cases. Older than 60 cases, 16 patients, and male patient 20, and 2 cases were female. 0% infection among medical teams who managed the admitted patients to Al-Azhar University Hospital. Al-Azhar management during student exam, complete separation, distance, and wearing mask, continuing medical service to other COVID patients, and social education to contain COVID-19 pandemic. Al-Azhar role in helping government and receiving stranded people from abroad, 3,175 people, 3 waves, each 15 days of quarantine from 9 April to 23 May 2020. Al-Azhar medical teams, 4 teams to Al-Agouza Hospital, 4 teams to Sheikh Zayed Hospital. Till today, 8 teams to Abu Teeg Hospital in Upper Egypt and Asyut. Each team composed of 10 doctors, 2 internal medicine, 2 chest, 2 anesthesia, 2 cardiology, radiology, and clinical pathology. Medical committee service never stopped during crisis. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Siddiq. And as usual, Azhar University pioneer in healthcare services for all Egyptian community. And now it's time for question and answers. So if anyone would like to write a question for one of our honorable speaker, just write it or raise your hand to give the question live.
في اسئله شفناها
طب لو حضرتك ممكن نعم
شفت واحد
if you can answer it right now Professor
حاول كده استرجع معلوماتي او
okay thank you
وانا شفت سؤال question على البوست انفكشن سيمبتومز
Yes.
This point is very important point. Already, I'm asking this question because I'm chest physician and also I manage patients in critical care and post-infection symptoms and we define as post-COVID-19 syndrome.
ممكن تقربي له اللابتوب؟ قربي له اللابتوب عشان
Some cases are psychological upset after severe respiratory infection and respiratory distress, but some cases are related to some pathological, radiological changes in the lungs, which is ground glass appearance, patches of pneumonia, and persistent interstitial lung disease. And this is one of the causes of shortness of breath after COVID-19 infection. We treat, and this also is recorded more in patients with underlying lung disease, chronic obstructive lung disease, asthmatic patients, or smokers, etc. So that we recommend to use symptomatic treatment in the form of bronchodilators, but we recommend for gradual tapering of high doses of systemic corticosteroids, methylprednisolone or prednisolone. We started with 30 milligrams per day for 10 days, and then with tapering the doses of corticosteroids, and there is some improvement, but the changes in the lungs, the radiological changes, and the shortness of breath sometimes persist for a few months after the infection with COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comment, Prof. Maha? Can you, any feedback and comment, please?
No, I'm just saying that there are two questions that Dr. Awad might be able to answer. Someone was asking about the recorded percentage of recurrent infection.
Yes.
And the doses of remdesivir.
معلش يا دكتور ماهر انا ما سمعتش يعني.
The first.
سؤال كويس. Up till now there is no evidences. تقصد reinfection. There is no definite recorded cases of recurrent infection after resolution of the first infection. But yesterday I heard about one case, one report about reinfection with COVID-19.
Oh.
But definitely there is no data about the solid immunity after infection with COVID-19. So that the possibility of reinfection is definitely is one of the possibility for COVID-19. So, but up to now, there is no evidences of recorded cases, even either in the international literature or in the Egyptian literatures. So that we must wait and follow up the cases for any possibility of reinfection.
When many studies now are undertaken all over the world to assess or to find out the level of immunity post-infection and how much time does the antibodies remain and the immune system is present and is able to protect those who are infected. So much studies are still underway to assess this, and definitely some of the studies have mentioned that the immunity stays. So the issue is that immunity is there after infection. It's the duration of this immunity and when does it wane. This is the type of the studies that is being undertaken now in many countries and for many for many patients and even in community surveys, and it is there for some time. However, the duration is still under question, and that is why when a reported case has been mentioned of a reinfection of COVID-19 that was even severer than the first case of infection. So this is one case study that has been reported recently in the past week. So we need to wait and we need to carry out all the studies later on and to continue with those studies to understand the immunity pertaining to the infection. Thank you.
So, Prof. Rabat, there is a question. If reinfection in a short time is a possibility, how could a vaccine be effective? Or it could need booster dose administration?
The issue of the vaccine is still
Under trial?
under trials.
Yeah.
Now we have like 9 vaccines in the third phase or in the clinical trial phase. So much needs to be learned about the effectiveness of those vaccines, the doses of the vaccines, the time of the immunity that they provide. But definitely, we all know that whatever infection is there, the immune system has a memory that brings out the immune system. These are things that need to be studied after during the time that we are that we're having those studies and those clinical trials.
Okay.
السؤال بتاع الفاكسين لو احنا بنقول
If reinfection.
لسه بندرس الاميونيتي اللي بتحصل والفاكسين، طيب ازاي هنضمن ان هو هيدينا الاميونيتي المظبوطه اللي هو هيبقى محتاجين 1 دوز او 2 دوزز او ايه عشان خاطر نقدر ان احنا نعتمد على الفاكسين كوسيله للحمايه من المرض من الانفكشن.
more than but the expectation for the vaccines already in phase 3 clinical trial, which is human trial, is about 7 to 8. عايز اطمنكم ان احنا already from the first اول ما اعلن عن اول vaccine we started to make communication international society or alliance for availability of vaccines.
بس بعد السؤال ده.
Most of the vaccines are in phase 3 on the human trials and for the effectiveness and the safety of vaccines. As Professor Maher mentioned, we will know after the end of this year, this vaccine is 1 dose vaccine or maybe 2 doses between each dose 1 month, and for how long the vaccine will be effective. And most of the viruses, maybe respiratory viruses, I think.
يا دكتورة.
There is mutation and some changes in the gene sequences of the vaccine. Up to now, there is change already. There is change in the spikes, which is present in the vaccine, which is the effectivity of the vaccine is usually مفتوحة. العلاج مش من عندي. Still the vaccines are under trial, but definitely whatever the effectiveness of the vaccine, 70%, 80%, or even 60%, it will be of value.
If it is above 50%, I think it's going to be of value.
طبعا, it will be of value. And I mentioned it will be of value. Hello? تفضل يا فندم.
There is another question from are required to reduce complete viral load. Dr. Siddiq, is this a question related to you? till we got the answer for the question. We would like to thank the efforts of Association of African Universities for providing us this platform and also for broadcasting our conference on TV. Prof. Awad, there is another question. How many doses of remdesivir are required to reduce the complete viral load? How many doses? Yes. It's individual variation maybe, and the load of viral infection. Yeah.
From 5 to 7 days. It is twice daily doses for 5 to 7 days. And as I told you, it is only valuable in severe or very severe patients, and its value may be with some improvement in some cases and quick or more conversion of the positivity. نعم الدوز بتاعته في الفايل فيها تقصدي الدوز ولا كام for how many days؟ الدوز الفايل I think في 200 مللي
Okay. Prof, there is many questions, and I suggest if we can gather all these questions and you answer them, and we hang the answers on the website of the conference later. Is this okay with you, Prof? To collect the questions and answer them and raise it on the website of the conference as a Q&A partition in the conference later on.
لا دكتور عوض عشان الأسئلة كتيرة بس.
Yes, because we have many questions and we would like to share the experiences of our honorable speakers.
Yes.
Okay. We will collect all questions. So, Prof. Mahrasawi, we close to the end of the session. So the mic for
شكرا معالي الوزير، شكرا معالي الوزيرة، شكرا للسادة المداخلين والسادة الحضور. والآن نرفع الجلسة للاستراحة لمدة نصف ساعة إن شاء الله. شكرا لكم على هذا التفاعل والتجاوب.
Thank you. And the second session will start at 5:30 p.m. Cairo local time, 3:30 GMT. Thank you, all our guests, and see you within about 1 hour. Goodbye.